Thank you to the community that's joined us. See a lot of folks that have been involved in the chats. The core focus for today is going to be on the proposals for Illuvium Beyond. So hopefully you all have had a chance to see. There are two of them out there. One is around the BOGO or BOGOF, depending on what part of the world you're from, the buy one get one free disc promotion process for Illuvium Beyond with some of our partners. The other one is for the Wave 2 extension and promo sale changes. So for this current promo partner and the overall structure of the discs for the promo types. So it's the core focus for today. As mentioned, we've got 4 of the 5 IMC members that are here that are looking forward to sharing with you a little bit more of the background for why the proposal is what it is right now. Again, we really appreciate there's been a lot of good feedback, several ideas that have been brought up by the community, and we want to talk through those. I would ask if you have additional questions, in particular, if something hasn't really been asked or addressed in any of the proposal chats, please go ahead and toss those into the chat in the council stage on the side of this. That's where we'll be checking for those. If you put a comment into one of the other governance channels, we probably won't catch it during this recording. So that said, get your questions and feedback in. We're happy to hear it. Kieran, I think I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you to kick us off here a little bit with some of the team perspective on maybe Illuvium Beyond in general, and then specifically with the promo partner that we've got lined up going forward. I think that'll help set the stage.
For sure. Thanks, mate. So, I originally, the intention of the Illuvium Beyond product was to standardize it as quickly as possible. I think it's super important, and that goes from the product specs, the promotional partners, the timings, and even down to the pricing. Now, I was very, very against changing the pricing for Wave 2, and a lot of community and council members were sort of in favor of changing that, and that's totally fine. And I guess what I've realized over time is, as much as I would like to standardize this product straight out of the gates, there are teething issues, right? Like I just don't think it's reasonable to think that there aren't going to be any changes. And so that's kind of where we're at when it comes to Illuvium Beyond. Why we're having this conversation about extending this wave is not a matter of us saying, hey, we just want to extend it so we can generate more sales, and that definitely wasn't the idea. We're not saying to the people who have bought in Wave 2, we want to extend it to dilute you or anything like that. The whole reason this happened, and I've been very vocal about this for the last, it would be going on nearly 6 months, and that is that the promotional partner that we have decided to go with is a two-pronged attack, and we're utilizing them for our PvP marketing campaign, and very, very heavily using them for that PvP marketing campaign. Now, that campaign would typically cost somewhere between $500 and $1 million if we didn't do it in this strategic way, coupling it with a Illuvitar's drop, right? So they've got some upside in terms of the sales for this promotion, and we've got some upside as well. So we potentially, from going from what would cost us the DAO 500 to $1 million to market PvP in this way, and obviously, I'm not saying that we definitely would have done that, but I'm saying the opportunity for us to be able to do that was very attractive. And when you think about the potential of it not costing us anything, and then potentially actually turning into an event where we earn some the DAO some revenue from this exercise, it becomes extremely attractive, right? And so we decided long ago to do Wave 2 promotional partner with these guys. And the trouble is, when it's attached to PvP, when PvP started moving, this partnership started moving. It doesn't, and it's a little bit tough because we're under NDA and I can't release who the partner is. I've hinted towards who this partner is. I think a few people have a pretty good idea. And when you think about, it's very PvP related, you sort of get an idea of who we would have gone with. But if we decide to go out with just the Illuvitas promotional campaign, it starts losing a hell of a lot of relevance to their key audience. Now, the entire reason that we go out with promotional partners is to bring in a new audience. So if we didn't have that lead up where there's a bunch of PvP exposure to this brand's community, it would almost be like we're just dropping NFTs on them without any context, and they're probably going to reject that idea, right? And so that's why we're not sitting here saying, hey, we've got the partner lined up, we've got the date lined up, let's just move on ahead and chuck it in now. We have to work under the same under the parameters of when we can release it with PvP. I think it would be a bit of a disaster if we didn't do that, right? So that's how we've gotten into this position, and obviously it's not ideal. I'm one of the people that, again, advocates for standardization of this product. I really believe in that, and I hope we can get to that. But I just wanted to give you all some context to say this isn't just us trying to milk sales out of the community and dilute people. It's simply a way for us to keep this collaborative promotion intact. And yeah, hopefully that sort of sets the stage of where we're at, and then we can dig a little bit deeper.
Yeah, very good. Thanks, Kieran. So maybe a couple other points here. Seeing some comments in the chat. I haven't really seen any concerns in terms of going with the promo partner. I do think though it's really important for the community and I mean the entire Illuvium community, including those that are playing Beyond as well as those that aren't, to understand that each of the products, each of the experiences that we're offering, Arena, Overworld, Zero, Beyond, they're really critical to the DAO. And while they do have to each have their own positioning and their own success, they also have to fit together into this broader picture, right? As we talked about the integration of Illuvium Zero with the lands and the overworld and then into the arena, those discussions, it can be difficult when you have such an interconnected ecosystem like we do here, that if one product has some changes to it, it's very rare that it's not going to impact others across the ecosystem. And so I would just ask everyone to keep that in mind, that we do have to look at this holistically for the entire organization and the entirety of the DAO. So I think most people are on board, maybe everyone really, with the idea of having a good promo partner. The primary discussion that I've seen over the past day or so is really just this question of, do we extend wave 2 versus do we end a wave 2 and launch a wave 3 beforehand? I'll give some feedback to that on the front end, and then I don't know any of the others on the stage can do so afterwards. The main reason for this is we've seen very, very clear sentiments in terms of all of the channels for months now. There has been very, very little interest from the community in having a wave 3 sale. The community feels like it becomes too value extractive of the community members to launch another sale, because to be frank, if you're going to be competing for leaderboard spots, which we know, many of the Beyond players are, you're essentially being forced into buying the next wave. And so if we continue to launch more waves before open beta is out, this is a very negative connotation for many in the community. I know it's not unanimous, but for sure, that was very strongly reflected back to us as a council from the communities across the last months when we've had this discussion. So I do recognize that that's an option, and for sure we had that dialogue, but it was pretty clear to us as a council over the past months that is definitely not the favored approach by most of the community, and it's certainly very negative from an outside perspective as well, to have another wave launch before open beta. So that's my take on it. Maybe have another, any of the other council members can jump in as they'd like to.
Yeah, and I will say this: I know that conversation or those discussion points has been so prevalent because I am in the other bucket, right? Like, again, I feel like we shouldn't be. We release this product; it should be as is. We shouldn't be changing the time parameters based on market sentiment. But I'm only one person, right? I have a different spending capacity to others, and that's totally okay. And I've been willing to say, you know what, as much as I think it's going to hurt the product to have such a long delay, like we're talking, potentially a couple of months or even 3 months, where no one can literally buy apart from off secondary. I think that change is way, way more drastic than what we're talking about here in extending the wave. But I'm willing to accept that that's where the community's at. And, if they feel like it's too extractive, I get it. The intention was that the games were meant to be out. That's why Illuvium Beyond was released when it was. And so there's been changes, as you say, across the board, and we've had to move with those changes. But I think the argument that you had set parameters and now they're changing is also apparent when you think about not starting wave 3, like talking about not having a promotion partner in wave 2 at all, and just going ahead with wave 3. Like, there's issues across the board, and there's changes that we need to make to what the initial product was. Regardless, it just comes down to what are those changes, right? And I believe the people in the top 100 who on the leaderboards who should be advocating for the hardest, right? When it comes to this product, they've spent the most money on it. I think you'd find, and this is just my opinion, that they would want things to continue like normal and have continuous waves regardless. And I think a lot of the conversation around not having a wave 3 until open beta would be coming from people outside of that top 100 that don't have the spending capacity. And you could make the argument, well, who should have more of a voice in that decision to actually stop wave 3 from going ahead until open beta? So I just want to make the point there that while there's an argument of the product should be standardized, no changes. There's going to be changes regardless, right? So I think we, as a DAO, we just need to accept that.
I'll go ahead and jump in here, but I've tried to be responsive in the Gov Ideas post with some of my thoughts. I see people in the comments basically saying, you know, that they prefer Wave 3 over Wave 2. Look, this was kind of my assumption was that, or my feeling going into it was that the community was strongly against another wave before more of the public beta releases. So I think what I would really like to see is just a clear understanding of where the community sits on this. So, I mean, if you guys are listening to this right now, hop in the message panel for this, you know, for this stage and just voice your opinion, right? Because it feels a little bit like there's a small subset of people that prefer Wave 3 over a Wave 2 extension, like Kieran was just saying, and I just want a clearer understanding of where you know, where people are at on this, because I think there are pros and cons to each approach. You know, I've spent a good bit of capital on Wave 1 and Wave 2, and I'm kind of indifferent. I mean, I would probably prefer the extension of Wave 2 personally, just because I think it makes more sense for the DAO as a business. But I understand there are people that have concerns about the you know, the do what you say you know, mindset, and I think there is value in that, right? You want to be able to trust that there's a sense of reliability in decisions that are made. So I get that. And if there's, you know, if people say that they want Wave 3 earlier, as long as it's not uh, as long as it's not going to be an incredible dev lift to make that happen, I don't think it should take away from the other focuses. And like Nick has said, you know, publicly and privately, that um, you know, busier than ever, right? The dev team is like all hands on deck trying to polish the product. If it's going to take away from that, I think that's also something the community should consider when trying to weigh the pros and cons of the decision. But that's, you know, it's kind of my 2 cents.
And so just on that, before we pass over to get Blichter's opinion, I just want to make it very clear. While it is the reason why it would be a dev uplift, and we would need to refocus priorities and resources, is because the overwhelming sentiment that we have been hearing from the community from the past like 4, 5, 6 months. And I know Bitcoin just popped yesterday, which might be changing people's bearish sentiments, but we have overwhelmingly been hearing this sentiment and this idea that don't sell us any more NFTs prior to open beta. And that has meant that the concept team, instead of going hard on, you know, a large focus of them being get Wave 3 done and Wave 4. Now, Wave 3 is, from an artwork perspective, is still like very much, I would say it's like 85% complete. So there is an uplift there, but it wasn't what we were expecting. And we have taken those people off to build the environments, because in our opinion, it sounded like getting more regions out was more important for open beta than it was for us to continue selling NFTs. So that was a team decision that we decided, and that was based on us listening to the community. Now, for us to switch gears and have to go back and complete Wave 3 rather quickly, it is going to be a dev uplift. It is definitely going to be possible, but you know, as Nick is trying to explain, it's not ideal, But again, I'm just trying to give you the context of why that has happened, because we were adamant that, you know, this product could continue to run wave after wave after wave. But when you're hearing from the community over and over and over again, don't sell us any more NFTs. It looks like a cash grab. It's so extractive. No one has any more money. We've got to react to that. And I think, you know, it didn't make sense to continue building out those waves while we have much bigger fish to fry when it comes to adding to the different regions for open beta.
Yeah, and I think in a perfect world, of course, it would be nice if everything could always be firing at 100%, right? But that's just not the reality of business, and there are limited resources in any business. And in this case, it's just what do you prioritize, right? And especially with the feedback we had heard that, you know, stop selling as NFTs, it seemed like it'd make more sense to extend a wave for something that's already been built, refocus all energy on shipping other things, and then, you know, reset when public beta and open beta launches. So that was kind of just to provide a little bit of background for why this decision or proposal was put forth in the first place. That was the mindset we were coming from. But yeah, Blichter, if you want to share your thoughts as well, please feel free.
Yeah, I feel like most of the points have already been made. It's a difficult decision. Like the guy said, following Wave 2, we did hear fairly strongly that wasn't desirable to have additional sales for Beyond before open beta. I understand that in the context of a partner, some people might feel differently about that. Primarily, we brought this solution forward because we felt holistically it was the best. It was going to be the least amount of dev work. In addition, things like the Wave 2 promo sale would have, you know, Wave 2 Illuvatars in it. And so it sort of makes sense to have that happen during Wave 2. But listen, we're here to listen to what the community thinks. This is a bit of a complex topic because things do evolve. We do have things that change. We do have partners that become available, and we do need to be agile and be able to adapt to that. And just wanted to say that I do understand where people are coming from. At no point is it our goal to say something and then change it. So it's mostly just a matter of how can we move forward in the best way possible. It's unlikely that everybody will be 100% satisfied with that, but what makes the most sense to do? How can we get the most value for the DAO out of these partnerships that we can? And this was what we felt was best, but we are here to listen. I understand that some people might feel differently, so.
And
Go ahead.
sorry, Penny. And the simple answer for some might be, well, stop the wave as intended. Don't do the promo sale, and then do the promo sale at a later date. The issue with us doing the promo sale when the wave isn't running is that we had 1,350 new people come into the ecosystem from the GameStop promotional sale, and they had no wave to buy into. Now, we've made considerable updates to the product in that when you're buying a promotional disc now, you will get contents of inside the disc that enable you to start playing the game anyway. But we think that that's going to spur on people to go, okay, well, now that I've got a standard Illuvitar that's not promotional, and I've got some accessories here, what do I do with those, right? Do I bond it? And then if I bond it, whoa, what just happened? I've got album points. Now I'm on this leaderboard. It sucks them into the product and it engages them. Then their next likely move is to go, okay, well, that was really fun. I'm going to go buy another disc. If we don't have other discs available, it makes it very hard, right? Like you lose that customer almost guaranteed. I think out of the 1,350, there's been about 50 participants that continued on. So the take up rate for Wave 2 from those promotional partners has been nowhere near what I think we would get if they got into the ecosystem properly and there were other discs available. And so, that's a large part of the decision. Now, the other problem is some people have said, okay, well then stop the wave when it was intended. And then when you do the promotional sale, just allow the Wave 2 discs to be sold for a short period, either like slightly before, then during the promotional sale, then slightly after. The issue with doing that is the messaging that we've had all along, and the intention of the product was to say that once a wave ends, it's finite. Now, it's my opinion as the head of marketing, it's much, much harder for us to convey to people, and I think there's going to be even more uproar from the Beyond community if they feel like a wave has ended and then, promotional partner, now they've started selling the same discs again. I thought the amount was finite. There was only 100 Aphistos and now there's going to be 120. It changes the entire Beyond economy. And, I don't think that's a very good experience either. And so there are many, many different scenarios that we've played out. And I would definitely understand the argument more that extending the wave is going to dilute my my current Wave 2 Illuvatars if there was a finite amount set on them, right? If there was only ever 500,000 or 1 million that could ever be minted, and then all of a sudden we increase that, I think that's a lot different than us saying, well, you could buy an unlimited amount during this time frame. We're just extending that time frame out. If someone today decided, a big whale decided, hey, I'm going to jump into the ecosystem and spend $5 million on discs, it's going to dilute you the exact same as what it would be extending the wave. And, I just see less of that argument there when you really, really think about it. I don't think the internal ecosystem is going to sit there and go, well, now that the wave's extended, I'm going to keep on buying, right? Like I think everyone had already priced in how much they were going to spend on Wave 2. And I don't think that changes. All I think it does is open up a window for those new people that are joining the ecosystem. And again, hopefully we get 1,000. Hopefully we get 5,000 people. We don't know what success looks like yet. But if we do, and they go in and buy a whole bunch of new discs, and then that wave ends, in my opinion, that's better for people who are in Wave 2, because those secondary sales are going to go nuts with people who are like, oh, damn, I only had a limited amount of time to buy Wave 2 discs after I bought my first promotional disc, which got me into this ecosystem. Now I'm addicted and I don't have an Aphisto, or I don't have one of these characters that allows me to complete my album. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the secondary market and I'm going to start sniping them. I think that is a much better scenario than, or a much more realistic scenario than our existing community just purchasing way more than what they would have because we've extended it by a couple of months, right? Like that's kind of where I'm at in terms of making sense of it.
And Kieran, this is a point I was going to make too. From a Beyond player standpoint, as someone who's playing, I'm not top 100 on the leaderboard, but I am heavily invested in the platform and the product. The more people that we can onboard into the ecosystem and beyond, the more focus that it will continue to get from the studio. And again, I think JP put it pretty well in some of the comments that yes, there's more supply as more people buy into the wave. However, there's also more demand even in the short term. And if we're successful, again, this comes back to if the promo partner was not a good partner and we were looking at getting another 150 people into the product and they're just all going to buy a disc or two and then bounce out, this isn't really beneficial, and it also doesn't really hurt anybody either. So I would say it's kind of a nothing burger. If instead though you have a number of players that get into the ecosystem, they're bringing in demand as well as adding additional supply. They're bringing demand for wave one that's obviously closed already. They're bringing demand for wave two, and it also gives us as a council, it gives the team much more visibility into how popular this particular product is going to be as we can onboard players from other communities. And so in order for Beyond to continue to get focus, we've got to bring players in. And yes, that means that anyone that has discs and Illuvatars that have been purchased now in the first couple waves, there may be more of those if the intention is to hold it for 3 years and then sell. I agree that's probably a loss for you in the short term. However, we have to be able to get to that long-term time horizon, and the best way to do that is to onboard people to the ecosystem. All of our games, right? They all work in concert together.
Yeah, I think you put that well, Annie. But yeah, basically, if Illuvatars, if Beyond is going to be what helps onboard new people, if it's part of that puzzle, then this promo is a very good way of doing that. And it wouldn't really be. I don't look at it as dilutive for that to happen, knowing that it's built to bring in new users, right? It's a very targeted. There's a very targeted reason we're doing this. We're not just extending it for the heck of it. But I'm looking through the comments now, seeing if there's anything else.
I just wanted to, I think Artie had mentioned this earlier, but the question was essentially about what sorts of things can we do to fix this going forward. It's been something we've talked about a bit, but figuring out the cadence for sales and making that something that's consistent every wave, whether that's a sale running for 3 months and a month of downtime, or sale running for 5 months and a month of downtime, or even other solutions. That is the goal state for Beyond to be in. Right now, this is our second wave, which essentially had no great way to tell how much tolerance the community had for spending. Obviously, being in a bear market didn't contribute positively to that, but we need to figure out what the optimal cadence is for the community, and that is a goal. It is a goal to have a set cadence where people can know, yes, this starts this day, it'll end this day, and over time, we should be able to ideally be able to set up partners that coincide with those time frames. Just this was a great opportunity that it wouldn't have been wise to pass up, right? So
yeah, and again, I'll advocate that like until I'm black and blue, right? Like we have this type of activation with how much has gone into it, with how much exposure we're going to get with PvP to mainstream audiences, very, very targeted mainstream audiences, with a partner that is a top 5 organization or top 10 organization in the genres that we are trying to showcase, would cost us honestly probably in the millions, right, to do that, which is not feasible. Now, when an opportunity like this, and Lauren did ridiculously good job. I to be honest, couldn't even really fathom the idea of this happening with a game that's in early access with the size of partner. But when he brought this to me and he said that, you know, the whole idea would be that we do an Illuvitas collection, you know, because remember, we have another partner that's lined up that we could potentially do instead. But we decided, no, it makes perfect sense. It's going to line up with PvP. We definitely should be looking to do, you know, this dual integration where we hit PvP and we also hit Illuvitas at the same time. That decision was made, and you know, once you see who this partner is, you'll understand why that was such a good marketing decision. And from the finance standpoint, we would have had to have gone out with some type of marketing campaign for the release of PvP. It's been 3 years in the making. We're trying to get mainstream audiences to come in. This is the first time that we really believe that we have a product that can stand up against our mainstream competitors. If we did release this product without spending a whole bunch of money on marketing, I think there would be just as much uproar, if not more, from the community saying, like, why didn't you spend any money on marketing? Why didn't you try and get new users in? The whole idea is we want to build our player base, and you know, you've not spent any money, right? Like that would seem insane as well. And so there are so many different factors that have been swirling around this decision. And you know, again, had PvP not been delayed, this wouldn't have been an issue. It would have lined up perfectly. But we need to make concessions based on changes. And I get that this product is, we're trying to standardize it, but there's also larger repercussions for us, you know, making changes. As Annie has pointed out multiple times on this call, we've got to look at this IMC makes decisions in the best interest of the whole DAO, right? And you have multiple products. You have stakers, you have people who play zero who bought land, you have arena players, you have overworld players. They're not all the time interconnected. Not a person who bought land hasn't necessarily bought Illuvium Beyond, and it's a very, very hard thing to balance. And you know, I think the concept of our governance structure does that in a really good way. If this was just simply a bunch of developers saying, this is what we have to do based on this partner coming in, and it's the biggest thing, you know, you guys don't get it, then I could understand the frustration. But this is a collective of all of those people coming together. I'm sure the landholders are like, well, we've had our land prices be slashed over time because you said the game would be out 6 months ago and it's not. But a Beyond player is like, well, you know, sorry, we had to, you know, we're trying to make the game good. And it's like, well, I don't really care about that because I bought a piece of land, right? Like there's always going to be differing opinions of the holders across the board. And then you've got the ILV token holders who are like, I just want you to get this game out yesterday because I bought it 3 years ago thinking that it would come out sooner. And so it is very, very, very complex to balance it. And that's why we have governance. And that's why I'm sitting here saying, you know, the decision to stop selling waves, in my opinion, is going to hurt Illuvium Beyond, right? As the CEO of the organization and the head of marketing, I believe that we're going to lose a bunch of interest from those top 100 people if we don't sell wave 3 and wave 4 and wave 5 like intended. But it's not my decision, right? It's the entire DAO's decision, and the overwhelming response was stop selling us NFTs, to the point where internal team members were like worried about it, including the people that actually build the products. And, you know, that's a huge change, but we got to accept it and we got to roll with the punches when it comes to these changes and just do the best that we absolutely can.
Yeah, I know we've covered a lot of information here today, and I know that some people um, won't necessarily have their minds changed by this, but um, I would ask that everybody just take this information, think about it, think about what it means for the DAO, what what makes the most sense in this context, and um, look, we're not here trying to force this through. If the DAO, you know, doesn't want this at the end of the day, if they don't believe it's best, we can find something else that could work. But we really do think fairly strongly that this likely is the best solution that's available, and yeah, I suppose I'm just saying, consider the different angles of this and how this could be good for the DAO as a whole. It could be good for Beyond players as well, bringing more people into the ecosystem. Uh, more people trading, more people spreading some excitement about Illuvium. Um, that's kind of what we're trying to achieve with this.
So one thing that I just saw in the chat, which is pretty interesting, is put a stop to the wave now and start the wave back up. So it would, not wave 3, but wave 2, start the wave back up once this promotional partner comes on board. Haven't really thought about that in depth. I mean, there's going to be people who are waiting to buy, next week, and if all of a sudden it gets shut off, they come back and they're like, what, this thing was meant to go for a little bit longer, now you're forcing me to buy in this other period. It's still a change. Is it slightly more palatable than extending the wave and just letting it run through? I'm not sure, but it's that is definitely another option. But I just again like to reiterate that while we can go and sell the promotion, this wave 3 promotion, this wave 2 promotion in wave 3, it's even from a product standpoint, you're talking about the Illuvatars that are in wave 2 that are now being sold inside of wave 3. It's weird in itself. Now the other thing that we could do is say, all right, we're not going to use the wave 2 Illuvatars that are intended for the promotion, but then we're talking about wiping out a bunch of work that the artists have already done. We've already agreed, and there's been a lot of collaboration and back and forth with the partner on artwork decisions, what accessories to use, what will work, what won't work. That's going to create a huge amount of uplift. So it will likely be a case of us saying, we don't want to throw out. I don't think anyone in the DAO wants to waste money. That's for sure. And that is going to be a big sink of wasted money. So what that in reality would mean, if we don't pause and then start again, is we would start wave 3 and we would be selling effectively wave 2 Illuvatars inside of wave 3 for that short 7-day window. Now, does that make people say, well, that's even more stupid than what you're originally proposing? So again, just want to put all perspectives on the table. As Blichter's saying, there's a lot to think about here, and this is a collective decision. All I can do is give my perspective based on the team. There is going to be considerable uplift. The best decision from a team standpoint in terms of resourcing, in terms of our marketing efforts, in terms of how we've also, just quickly on those marketing efforts, how we've also constructed the next few months of marketing campaigns to switch gears and then all of a sudden launch a wave 3 again because suddenly the community is okay with us launching a wave 3, there's considerable clashes there with us advertising our PV3 and then eventually our PV4. We were under the assumption again that there wouldn't be any more waves until the open beta is out, and so we've created our marketing efforts accordingly. Now, again, it's a DAO, right? Like for someone to say, you said this and it has to be that, and that's final, you shouldn't be in a DAO environment, right? Like there is the ability for governance to change core structures and do it quickly. And that's the attractiveness of this type of DAO. Now, me as the head of marketing, do I sit there and I'm like, well, you've just completely screwed or thrown a spanner in the works at the very least for the upcoming marketing campaigns that we've sat here building over the last few months. That's terrible. Why are you doing that? You know, we're not going to accept that. No, like we will also adapt to what the DAO wants, and we will also go back and put the work in to change those campaigns and make it work as best we can. But my honest opinion here is, if we don't have this promotional partner in wave 2 in some way, shape, or form, whether that means pausing and then starting again, or extending the wave and then selling this promotional partner when we intended, it will have an effect on the quality of us being able to market PvP and beyond, which I think will have a greater effect on the pricing of the Illuvials that you've already bought, and not just wave 2, in wave 1 as well, right? If we get this right, everyone wins. If we fail here because of changes at the end of, right at the end here, then everyone loses. PvP loses, Beyond users lose, the ILV token holders lose, and it's just a situation that I'm trying to avoid at all costs. But having said that, I'm not sitting here saying this is what we have to do, no change whatsoever, because that would be ridiculous. I wouldn't be running a DAO, and I wouldn't be inside of a team that is at the behest of a DAO. And so therefore, I'll accept whatever the community decides to do, like the other IMC members will, and we'll listen to you guys and hear your opinions. But, I just want to lay out the entire perspective of how this affects Illuvium as a whole, and then we make our decision based on that. But also, as Nick is going to point out, we need to make this decision quite quickly. So that's why we've also held the town hall as soon as possible, because there is a very, very, very big partner that is sitting there in the lurch. I had a conversation with them last night and explained to them, this is potentially happening. I don't know what the implications of this are going to be. And as I said, we've already pushed back PvP, which is the other half of this entire marketing campaign with this partner. And so they're kind of in the lurch as well here. So, all of this needs to be considered. And then holistically, we need to make the best decision for the DAO. And I trust that we can get there.
Kieran, if I may, so for the idea of kind of the pause and resume with partner, I don't think that's a bad idea. I think there are some, stop and go. You lose a little bit of momentum there on the marketing side. I think in terms of impacted community members, it would be very few that would be impacted by that. What kind of timeline are you able to share, like how long a pause would need to be, or when we could expect for that to resume with the partner in terms of timeline? Because that might help in weighing that decision against some of the other options.
I mean, I think we've got what 19 days left, so it would be a pause for around about 6 weeks, which means
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean those.
So
I'm just putting those things. Yeah.
Yeah, just doing quick math. Yeah, I mean, I think the concern there is also just the lot. I mean, and again, just thinking holistically for what's best for the entire DAO, we're talking about 6 weeks of no sales that could be revenue coming in. Also, right, if we have that pause, but just something that I guess everyone should take into consideration for that. I'm just trying to keep up with the comments now. The comments are flying. And I think everyone's opinion in the chat is also that this partner should be protected, right? If I'm reading everyone's opinion correctly, it's not so much should we or should we not do what we could do with this partner. I think everyone feels strongly that we should keep this partner happy. So I'm glad to see that, because I agree with the sentiment up here and from Nick in the chat that this is a partner worth keeping happy.
And yeah, just to be clear, like they've already gone through the changes of us coming to them and saying, hey, we thought PvP would be ready at this time. It's now not. We need to move those dates back 3 months. And so like they are very accepting, and again, when Lauren brought this to me, I was kind of like, wow, like how are we even on their radar? And then two, like how are they that keen to work with us? So like I don't want it to be made out like this partner is like, you have to do this, otherwise we're out. They're trying to work with us. They understand. They think that the whole idea of a governance structure is fascinating as well. And I mentioned that to them. I said, look, we've got a town hall coming up. It's up to the people at the end of the day to make the call. And they get that. And I think I'm confident that they would be they would work with us on this to come up with a solution that works for them and us. But I have an overwhelming fear that adding additional dev resources to this, putting additional stress on the Illuvium Beyond team, which art team, which has pivoted across to the environment team to get more work done on the regions for open beta, and then jerking around the partner and also doing more releases. If that means pausing and then starting and then pausing, there's friction across the entire DAO, and I'm not going to say it has implications across every single team, but I'm going to say it's honestly going to be around about 70 to 80% of all teams internally will be affected by this, plus the external partner. And definitely, without a doubt, the simplest way to fix this is an extension. A pause is probably the second best, but again, I haven't spoken to the internal team about this. But starting to sell Wave 2 promotional Wave 2 promotional Illuvatars in a Wave 3 sale, for me, starts get like as a Beyond player that's bought the third largest amount of discs, that's just starts getting real confusing, real wild. Yeah. I'm like, at what point, like, are you just gonna start selling Ramfires again? Like that's kind of where my head goes. So I don't know. It's all on the table now.
I think that's hard to communicate. Like in terms of marketing, that's hard to communicate, like a start and stop situation. And I think that even erodes some of the trust in you know, when you say you're done selling something, you're done selling something type of thing. For us to launch a, you know, wave 2 Illuvatars into a wave 3 sale, it's like, okay, what's stopping them from you know, like you said, selling Ramfires or doing this again in the future or whatever. But yeah, I mean, the more we kind of talk about it, I'm thinking the pause probably makes less sense. Doom said something in the chat that I thought was, you know, a reasonable take, that and maybe a little bit, you know, over exaggerated, but she said there will be no dilution between now and the promo sale. It's only the existing community, and we spent our money already. I've kind of, I mean, that's obviously is not a blanket truth for everyone, but I mean, most people that I'm in touch with kind of bought in early, or like the first few weeks, right? And then now they're kind of just sniping stuff on secondary. Maybe they're buying like one disc here or there, but I mean, is for the people listening, like, is there a lot of people that are, you know, holding back capital for wave 2 that, you know, feel like if we do this extension without bringing in large masses of new users, is it going to be that dilutive? And if it is new users, then I believe strongly there's a balance there of supply and demand as those new users enter our ecosystem, and that bleeds to all of the other games, right, and all of the other things that Illuvium is doing to bring in those new users. So I think the benefits outweigh the costs in that sense, for 99% of people involved and beyond, for the extension that just makes sense at that point. But I know we're kind of going in circles here, so you know, like Blichter said, I think it's important for everyone to just kind of digest the information here and try to see all sides of it. Sorry, go ahead, Annie.
Yeah, so I know it. Yeah, as you pointed out, JP, we're more or less at this point, I think, rehashing kind of the same discussions. There's a few more details I think are coming into the chat. I did just want, for the sake of consistency and completion, to just highlight the other items that are in these IIPs. Again, I know they're not maybe the topic du jour for the discussion, but just to make sure we've shared in the IIP that we've spent the time so far discussing today. We also do have the adjustments to the disc content for the promos. I think Kieran's alluded to this or spoken about it a couple times here, but this feedback was taken really based directly on the community experience and feedback to the team and the councils from Wave 1. I haven't really seen any complaints about that, which I think is good. I feel like we definitely have hit the mark on that point. But again, if anyone has any questions, please let us know in chat. I know Nick has also mentioned that making sure that we have that structure in place for the team to be able to finish dev, the dev finalization of those assets is really key. And then the other point I would say related to what we're discussing now as well is the BOGO sale, to again bring in more players into the ecosystem. And so again, I think we want to recognize that there's been questions and a lot of feedback and recommendations from across the DAO to make sure that we're doing everything we can from a marketing perspective to onboard users into the ecosystem. And so just remembering all of these, both IIPs in that light is really critical, because again, if the best way for us to get players in is to really target Web3 audiences, as we think is the case right now for Beyond, these are the ways that you're going to do it. Is you're going to get players that are already interested in the games that we're building enough that they're willing to overcome the Web3 friction points, and to go after Web3 natives that are in the sector that might be looking for an opportunity to get involved with a project like Illuvium, just as we're getting ready to hit the ground with open beta coming up. So just to highlight those points, again, there hasn't been a lot of discussion on those other elements, but I feel like we should mention them today, and not spend the entire time just on that particular point around timing.
Yeah, and just touching on that, I would have expected the people that don't want to be diluted, who have participated in Wave 2, to come out and say that BOGOF sale or BOGO, whatever you want to call it, shouldn't go ahead either, right? Like you're kind of saying we want users, but we only want the users if it's now, not at a later date, which I can't really get my head around that. I don't understand why the BOGOF proposal, I'm just looking at it now. We've got 57 upvotes for that, 5 downvotes. So I mean, just purely based on a ratio standpoint from extension of the wave versus the BOGOF proposal, there's not the same. There's 22 downvotes for this extension. That doesn't really add up to me. It doesn't really make sense, right? Like what we're intending to do is get thousands of new people inside of this wave and start buying, as I said, like that scenario where a whale comes in and buys 1 million discs are the people in wave 2 who are like, this extension is going to dilute my discs, upset about that whale coming in, or thousands of people coming in from other discords coming in buying their wave 2 assets and making them diluted. Wouldn't you be concerned about that? Like, so that brings me to, I think the second most prevalent argument in this case is, well, you shouldn't make changes to what you say, but either way, we're going to be making changes, right? Like regardless of anything, we're going to be making changes here. And I think that's become abundantly clear on this call. So then that sort of renders that argument, well, you know what, we've got to make concessions both sides, right? Like if we do the extension, it's a change. If we don't do the extension, it's a change. Unless, again, we're saying that everyone is more than happy to just run the waves through like we were originally intended. And my point there is that still would require us to make the change that in wave 2, there's either no promotion whatsoever, which again is a change to the product. If someone coming in 10 waves from now, they would be like, what is the deal with no promotional Illuviatars being in wave 2? And that would look weird. Like that's some like blip on the radar that people would be confused about. So for me, there is change across the board, or it's we don't throw out all of that art and all of the work that we put in with the partner, and we choose wave 3 Illuviatars. That's going to mean a change of throwing away some money. That's going to mean a change in the sense of a whole bunch of dev resources. So like this whole argument of the DAO can never make a change, I get where you're coming from, right? Like I understand it in terms of I want to know and have the confidence that this product isn't going to change. But unfortunately, no one can give you that guarantee when you have a DAO, right? Like I always go back to saying, remember when the seed investors who I individually pitched every single one of them that they would be able to stake their tokens just like everyone else. And for that reason, they ended up putting in millions of dollars. And then 2 months later, I came back to them and said, welcome to investing in a truly decentralized organization. They've just voted that you can't stake your tokens. Tough luck, right? And they all had to accept that. And that's just what we are, right? Like we're an organism that is constantly changing. And while we'll do our absolute best, and trust me, I want to standardize this product, I just don't think it's realistic to have this standpoint of no change ever. And therefore, I go back to what change is best. And it honestly, from the team standpoint, from the partners standpoint, from a marketing campaign standpoint, it's extending this sale, and as a secondary, if we absolutely had to, stopping it and then starting it again. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
do we want to open this up for questions at this point, or if anybody has any other comments, or if there's anything that wasn't clear about, I guess, just about what the situation is and what the options are, what the ramifications are, anything like that. If anybody has anything like that, it would be a good time to bring it forward.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's good if anyone wants to hop up on stage here. Just check. You should have the option to raise your hand if you're in voice chat with us now, and we can let you up. While we're waiting, in the meantime, you can play the background elevator music. Yeah, I am seeing a fair number of comments and have been throughout the town hall for anyone that's maybe listening afterwards. There's a pretty strong feedback not to do anything that's really going to put at risk a further delay to open beta. And so I think that that's generally supported pretty across the board as well. You know, you get into one of those questions if you were to, each one of the changes has some sort of impact, as has been mentioned. Certainly, the risk to extending open beta further to spend any more time on Beyond is not one that most of us in the council are really willing to take on. Again, we've already seen and heard a lot of feedback from the community, and I think reasonably so, that the focus has to be on getting the main games out and open beta launched, and Beyond is a companion product that needs to work alongside it, but it shouldn't be taking dev focus away from and putting at risk open beta. And so I think, again, it's an important part of our ecosystem, but to do anything that's really going to jeopardize open beta by retasking devs is I think a bad decision at a macro level.
I like the statement of make Beyond great again. You know what made Beyond great in the first wave was the amount of players that we had. Right, that's like to like really zone in on why did floor prices drop and all of these types of things. Yes, the market is going through a tough time, and yes, NFTs in particular. But in my opinion, when you go from having 8,500 players down to 2,000 players, you're going to see a drop in the floor price. What we are trying to do is bring more people into the ecosystem, and yes, that means that the window for wave 2 is open a little bit longer, but it's going to help your bottom line in your portfolio of Illuvials in the long run. And that's honestly how I think we make Beyond great again. But yeah, and again, the intention was always to have this BOGO sale like 2 weeks after. The campaign had already been drafted prior to the release of Wave 2. It's just it requires a really complex Discord bot in order to be able to make sure that people can't game the system and jump into like 10 different Discords and get a free one for every purchase. And so, and again, balancing our back end to say like, okay, do we take someone off building the games to build this Discord bot? In the end, Itamar just did it in his spare time, which was, a massive favor to me. And the whole idea was, I was explaining to him, dude, if we can get this and we can go into these Discords, we've done it before. It was our initial marketing campaign, was going into partnering Discords. And we grew, if anyone was here in the start, we grew from 1,000 or 2,000 people from when the initial Cointelegraph article came out to 70,000 in the space of like 3 months. And we did that by going into partnering discords and saying to them, hey, we've got this NFT promotion. A lot of the time it was only like 10, sometimes it was 100 NFTs. Join our Discord and you go into the running to win one of these NFTs. It was the greatest marketing campaign that Illuvium ever did. I assure you of that. It cost us nothing. It got us 70,000 new people. We infiltrated so many different DeFi protocols that have massive spenders. You cannot fathom how good that was for our token at that time. This is what we're planning to do again when it comes to this BOGOF thing. And if it's successful, again, it's very different market conditions, even though yesterday was pretty good, very different. And, you know, I'm not expecting it to be as crazy as when we're in that bull market. But if we can go and get like the value that each player spends per wave, and again, I'm not expecting it to be the same for these new players that come in compared to the core players. So the average spend, I do expect to go down with these new people that come in. But if you get hooked on Illuvium Beyond and you're in NFTs, chances are you're going to spend a decent amount of money, right? Like the product is built in a way that you want to finish a few albums. You then hit the leaderboards and you see yourself going up and it's like, okay, hang on a second. Now I'm going to spend a little bit more. I'm going to do a little bit more trading. There's a huge customer value that we have in this product. If we can go out and make this promotion successful and get what I'm hoping to be, you know, another 1,000 people that are already integrated into the NFT ecosystem, have large pockets to spend money, and they get addicted to Beyond, and they do that and we launch this in the next couple of weeks, it's going to be in wave 2. It's going to dilute the absolute shit out of the amount of discs that are currently minted in wave 2. I'm telling you that's what's going to happen right now. If you're against that, then go and downvote that proposal for the BOGOF disc promotion, right? You should say, I don't want any more people to buy discs in wave 2 because that means that my discs are going to be diluted. Now, I would say, as a person who's holding a stupid amount of wave 2 discs, that, from my opinion, bring as many people in as possible. Because what it means is my wave 1 discs will go up in value, my wave 2 discs will go up in value, the amount of people that are putting offers on my discs will go up, the amount of trading volume goes up, the amount of revenue that goes into the DAO will go up. It potentially will trigger the safety pool threshold to be hit, so revenue distributions start. There are so many pluses to us doing this. The whole idea of my discs get diluted is honestly feels like a moot point, because it's going to actually make the value of your disc go up with the more people that are in active. And again, I know I keep harping on about this, but the reason why wave 1 floor prices were so much higher is because we had so many more players. It's the same reason that I'm saying once the games are out, the whole reason that I accepted, okay, as much as I want to standardize the product and get to a point where, you know, we're just releasing waves, one after the other, one of the biggest points that I accepted was how much bigger is a new wave going to be, in this case, wave 3, after open beta. Once you've got people that have fallen in love with the IP, you've got hundreds of thousands of people playing, they're going to see our companion game and go, oh, that's cool. They're going to have people playing PvP that are like, the fuck? Why does that guy have a profile photo and I've just got this shitty default one? What is that? Oh, that's Illuvium Beyond, our companion game where there's NFTs involved. So that was the whole reason why I accepted maybe waiting for wave 3 actually would be best, because there's going to be more sales and more players, and more sales and more players means higher floor prices. It's just natural, and I shouldn't I shouldn't be talking about this. I am not allowed to be talking about this. But at the end of the day, when we're talking brass tacks, like if you really want to work out what's going to make your investment worth more, it's more players, right? Now, we cannot get more players if we don't act in a way to try and invigorate this ecosystem and infiltrate new communities and get more players in. It's a false economy for you to think, if I just hold on to only the 200, 300 players around me that have these discs, that's going to make them the most valuable. It's a false economy. I'm telling you, I shouldn't be saying it, but it's fucking true, right? So that is just the reality of this. And, I think we've gone on about so many different facets here, and everything comes back to it's just a much, much better situation for us to continue on. We extend it out. Yes, that means that there's going to be more people that join, but ultimately that is a good thing, not just for the Illuvium Beyond players, because it's a good thing for the entire DAO for all of those reasons that I just listed.
Yeah, I think this is the right point, and again, I would encourage people to think long-term perspective here, not short-term. Is eventually, if we keep making decisions that are focused on just the short-term value on behalf of the individuals in the DAO, we're never going to get to the long term with a chance to actually have this thing become what we all believe it can, right? And so the decisions have to all be focused around how do we grow the entire size of Illuvium as a brand. Beyond is absolutely one single pipeline into the ecosystem, and we want to activate every one of those funnels as much as we possibly can. That said, I do understand the position that, hey, this is a change. I get that it is, and as Kieran's mentioned a few times, that there's no pathway from here forward that doesn't involve at least some kind of change. It's just a question of what's the right one on behalf of the entirety of the DAO. And again, I want to be very transparent. The DAO includes all of the individuals who are battling in Beyond, I suspect right now. I mean, maybe there's a few people that are, not ILV holders at all. They're only Beyond players, but that number I suspect is very, very small. And so the Beyond players matter dramatically to us, and making sure that we take their feedback into account is critical. And again, this is, when we were having the discussions over the past months, this feedback, hey, don't force us to buy Wave 3 discs earlier before the game is out, very clearly resonated. So I think again, we've got to make sure that we're not just swinging back and forth on these sort of sentiment points. And as a council, again, that was very clearly received. It feels to some degree that now the feedback has swung the other direction, but I don't see that from a numbers perspective, right? As we look at the individuals that are giving that feedback, we've got a lot more people that are saying in the chat and that are messaging us, don't put Wave 3 out. I don't want to be forced to buy to compete on the leaderboard further when that happens.
It's amazing what one green candle in Bitcoin will do to sentiment. It's like, now sell us all the NFTs you got. We're back in. It's a bull market, baby. But yeah, no, I think we need to be realistic.
Yeah, Kieran, check your DM real quick. For anyone who's in the audience here, I want to ask one more time, because we did say it before. If anyone wants to come up on stage and you've got questions or feedback that you want to voice verbally, we'd love to have you here. We didn't have anyone take us up on it a minute ago, but I do want to put the offer out one more time while we're talking in chat. Cool. I see WW. I'm gonna try and bring you Oh, I actually can't bring you up on stage. Blichter, can you bring WW up? Perfect. WW, welcome to the stage. Feel free to give your comment or ask your question, my friend.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
We can, loud and clear.
Hey guys, yeah, so just more question on marketing for the promo and that. Just what was the thought process of? It sounds like the promo is gonna be happening right after PvP and that. Would it not be best to do it, but around PvE4, just because then it'll be more a polished game, and then also the gamers will only have a couple months until open beta. Right now, it looks like it'd be like 4 to 5 months the players will be playing until open beta. I'm just curious what the thought process with it just being PvP would be the first time it actually gets out to the players and that. Are we that confident in PvP right off the bat that people will stick around to all the polishing and bugs and that kind of stuff until open beta?
Yeah, so this is the really cool thing about this promotion, right? It's of my opinion that our grander marketing campaign, we've spent very, very, very little on marketing up until now. And it's of my opinion that this is when we really need to start building the Web 2 player base. In terms of Web 3, we've got one of the largest, if not I would say apart from Axie, we've got the second largest player base in all of Web3. It's 1.55 million people registered, but we've never gone after Web2, right? And Web2 marketing costs a significant amount more than Web3. And my intention with this campaign is it's a medium toe in the water, right? Like it's not a fully fledged $1 million campaign that comes with a release trailer and all of these sorts of things. It's very much a super targeted influencer campaign inside of the genre that we're trying to market in terms of the PvP product, and showing people, hey, the game that you love and have played for 5 or 6 years, there's a new game coming out that has similar mechanics, but much better graphics, way less RNG. It's more competitive. In our opinion, it's more esports-like, and we're going to get your favorite influencers to showcase it to you. We feel like it's time to start that process now. Now, obviously, it's caveated, and the entire campaign is that this is early access, right? Like you're seeing a build that is a work in progress, and with that, there is potentially going to be some bugs. Now, the intention is for us to gather a bunch of feedback and have at least one patch out before this really goes full scale. And when I say full scale with this, it's pretty big in what we're doing. I wouldn't say it's what I think we'll look back on in a few years and say is a large scale marketing campaign, but it'll probably look like smaller to medium. But the fact that this isn't costing us anything and we can do it tied in with, or I should say potentially not costing us anything because we're subsidizing it with the Illuvium Beyond campaign, makes it way too attractive to not test out now the mainstream audiences, because it's gonna take time, right? Like one thing that I'm trying to avoid is, hey, now we've open beta, the game's amazing, it's polished, now let's start building an audience. That isn't going to, and when I say building an audience, I mean building a Web 2 audience. Obviously, we still have that Web 3 audience, but the whole idea of Illuvium is to be that first game that gets mainstream adoption. And in order to do that, in my opinion, we need to start now. And that's why, yes, there are going to be some people that say, hey, why did that character do that? Or that character is a little bit too OP and that needs balancing and stuff like that. But very clearly marketed as an early access, sneak peek type thing to say, this is what's coming, get ready for next year. There actually is a blockchain game out there that is comparable to mainstream. Like they finally did it. Hallelujah is kind of what this marketing campaign is.
Okay, thanks a lot. I'll drop off. Thanks for answering.
Yeah, thanks for jumping up, WW. Very good. Any other questions? We'll give anyone else a chance to raise their hand if they want. Kieran, was there anything else you wanted to highlight here while we're taking some more comments in the chat?
We've got a hand from Gang, but if Kieran wants to speak first.
I think I've spoken enough. I'm going to take a page out of Blichter's book and stay quiet unless someone has a question from me.
Very good. Blichter, can you get Gang up?
No, I can't actually. I'm not sure who pulled WW up.
Kieran, probably you can. We'll have to have you maybe bring him up on stage.
There you go.
Morning.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me all right?
We can.
Awesome. Just wanted to have a quick question. So it seems like this promotion is going to run with Wave 2 because all the Illuvials are obviously in this promotion. Will they finish at the same time, do you think? Or, I mean, pausing Wave 2 I don't think is very good because the new players will obviously want to buy normal discs as well. Yeah, is it going to finish at the same time or are they going to run for an extended time? Is there any sort of info on that?
Sorry, I'm not 100% sure I understand your question. Do you mean would we, if we extended the sale, would we extend the like to what extent will we extend the sale? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, exactly.
So the idea is to have, I would say, ideally at least a week after the promotional sale concludes to give people a chance to buy what we've intended product wise moving forward, and what the original intention of this was to put it smack bang in the middle. So at the 6-week mark, you have the promotional sale that gives people 6 weeks after to get really stuck into the product. But from hearing feedback now, I think more of an extension is going to come at even more controversy. So the intention here is to allow those new players to be able to get into the ecosystem. The idea would be how long does it take for them to get into the ecosystem of Illuvium Beyond, and what is the ideal point to switch it off? I would say my preference would be at a minimum we give them a week, but from a product standpoint, it probably makes sense to give them much more than that, and that would be something like 4 weeks or something, which would take us to around mid-Jan.
All right. Yeah, I think more than a week would obviously give people enough time to go, oh, wow, look, they heard about it from their friend, and then they've got to save up their pocket money and, get a MetaMask and jump into Illuvium. So, yeah, I think 1 week is a little bit short, but 4 weeks might be a bit too long. But, yeah, I trust you guys and what you're doing. So, yeah, thanks heaps, man. Appreciate your time.
Cheers.
Very good. Other questions? Let's see. Looking for hands. I don't see any hands at the moment from the audience. Okay, we've devolved to Kieran shit talking Scoriax right now in the chat about his autobattler skills. So we're probably about ready to wrap up here, ladies and gentlemen. I think we've had some really good feedback from the community. Thank you for everyone that came out. Again, these are important discussions, and as mentioned, making sure that we can hear a whole bunch of different vantage points is critical. If we don't have anything else, we'll go ahead and wrap it up here today. And again, appreciate you all coming out. The recording will be available. I guess, Blichter, do you have a sense on when that will be?
Yeah, I'll be sending it to Rich after this. I'm assuming it'll be uploaded probably tomorrow, but I can't promise that.
Can I just mention one thing? So yes, speed is definitely required here. What I would ask of in the audience, sentiment is everything right now. This is about to go to the community council. Their job is to hear you guys out and figure out where does sentiment lie. Can you, based on all of the discussion, whether it's made you opposed to the idea or in favor of the idea, if you've changed your mind based on this town hall, or if you go away, have a couple of hours of thinking about it, and for whatever reason you're ready to vote, or you're going to change your vote, please remember to do so, because the community uses that as a very big sentiment point to say, okay, we've had the town hall now. It was 60-40 or 65-35 in favor of the extension. Where does it end up now? And so please go back to that forum and either keep your vote, change it, do whatever you want to do, but don't forget to do that, because it's critical for the community council to evaluate how we proceed here.
Yep, and for anyone that hasn't been in there lately, thank you, Garth, for sharing the links for the governance ideas channel where the comments can be made. Yep, yeah. Please check the council stage chat just to the right of this stage.
Cool. All good points. Thank you, everyone. If there's nothing else, we can go ahead and wind it down.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.
Cheers. Bye.
Take care, everyone. Cheers.